Hey everyone, we're continuing our knowledge of taxes now. And what are we looking at here? This is a zoomed in picture of what we call Form 1040. Obviously, it's right here. No special reason why it's called that. Maybe it was the 1040th form the government came up with. I have no idea. But it's called a 1040 and it's become pretty synonymous with quote unquote doing your taxes at the end of each year. Let me zoom back out here. This is the form, and there's always some people that recognize this. A couple of students every year, because of your age and the fact that some of you have had jobs and had to do your taxes maybe last year, you may remember having to fill this out, or maybe your parent or guardian filled it out for you and you didn't see it. But there's always somebody that recognizes this. But anyway, you'll be familiar with this as you get older, and after this course, you're going to see it every year from then on. So what this is it's a record of all the money that you earned throughout the year, and then any deductions, which are good things, because what deductions are things that can make your income appear lower. It doesn't actually take money away from you, but it's like reported as less income. And when you write down that you made less money, you're taxed on less money. So you want some deductions so you're not taxed on the entire thing. Like let's say you bought $500 worth of stuff at Best Buy, and you assume you would get taxed on all of it. But what if they said, we'll only tax you on $200 of it? That's the same idea with what we're doing here. We're trying to get our taxable number lower through some deductions, which might be down here. And we're going to talk about this in the days to come. And then we look up how much tax we owe, and I'll show you that as well today. Then we subtract some credits, and credits are almost like gift cards, like it's money right off your tax bill at the end. And then you find out how much money was withheld from your paycheck the previous year, and then you determine whether you owe money or whether you're going to get a refund, one of these two things here. So this is what a 1040 form looks like. A little intimidating at first. I had no idea what this was when I was your age, which is why we like to teach it. Because you're about to be, if not already, adults with jobs and soon to be on your own. So we broke this down into our own version of notes, which looks like this. This is sort of the beginner's guide to the 1040 form. So we start with, and you have this file open as well, we start with all gross income. So we're going to put that up here. And what you're seeing here is our little version of something minus something equals something, and then minus something else equals something else. So these are minuses and equal signs out here. What is gross income? What does that even mean? Total amount of money earned before taxes. So if your salary is $35,000 per year, that's your gross income. You don't get to keep it all, but that's what the employer is giving out, and you get to keep some, most, and some goes to the government. So we start with all gross income, and then we subtract expenses, certain expenses. So the government will give you a break on certain expenses. If you paid student loan interest or some other qualified things, it's almost like they take mercy on you and say, oh, you spent some money on some reasonable things. So you know what? We're going to give you a tax break on that. So you're allowed to subtract that out of your gross income before it's calculated. So expenses, for example, are student loan interest, educator expenses. So if teachers, for example, spend money, their own money on supplies, which a lot of people do, especially in the last year or so, you're allowed to deduct $250 off of your income. And then some money that you put away for retirement, that qualifies as deductions. So all these things here, you're going to type these as expenses. So we're sort of defining over here what shows up over here. So again, the ultimate goal is to get this gross income number down really low before we look at the tax table, or a lot lower, because that's the number we're going to be taxed on. We don't want to be taxed on all the money we earned, because that's a much higher number. So once you take your gross income and subtract the expenses, you're left with what we call AGI, which is an acronym for adjusted gross income. So it's your gross income, and you adjust it with these expenses, and now we just call it adjusted gross income. Super fancy name, not really, but AGI is the more common term. So now our income, our taxable income, is a little bit lower. Good for us. But then we could even deduct some more things. So we're going to subtract some more deductions. Everything we type, you type, right? So what are deductions? Let's see what we have here. Deductions are either standard, so you can take a standard deduction, and if you're single, you just get to subtract $12,200 right off your income. Tax-free. You get to take that right off. If you're married, $24,400. Non-taxable. They can just, for no other reason, everybody gets to take that, either single or married value, and deduct that off of your taxable income. Again, you're not lowering your actual income. You're lowering the amount that you're going to get taxed on. So again, like if I went to Best Buy and I bought $500 worth of stuff, you expect to pay sales tax on $500. What if they said, you know what, subtract $300 of that. You only need to pay us tax on $200. That's the analogy I'm giving you. This isn't sales tax, but that's the idea of lowering the taxable amount. And here it is, the taxable amount right here. So after you subtract the deductions, you're going to get what we call the taxable amount. So far we have all the gross income minus expenses. That gives us the AGI. Then we subtract some more deductions. And now we have our taxable amount. Now notice there was another option here. Other than the standard deduction, you have an option, standard or itemized. And that's getting way ahead of ourselves right now. We will explain that and teach it later on. But if you benefit more from this itemization route, you can do that instead of taking the standard one. But if it doesn't benefit you more, you would just take the standard one. Again, that's getting ahead of ourselves, but right now just understand that there are deductions that happen. And then we have the taxable amount, which is the amount you look up in the tax table. Excuse me, teacher, what is a tax table? Great question. I'm glad you asked. A tax table basically tells you, okay, if this is your taxable amount and you're single or married, you're going to look up on this chart and this is the amount that you're taxed on. They've already calculated it for you. So head over to my favorite search engine, Google. Is there another one? And I type in IRS tax table 2020 and let's see if it's here. So this appears to be a draft that hadn't been released yet, but this is basically what it looks like, a tax table. So notice that, I'll zoom in a little bit. This would be a lower income, like a part-time worker, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year. And then as we scroll up, see how it keeps going up and up and up. So let's just say you made $40,000 a year. And it was, let's say it was between $40,000 and $40,050. So anywhere between that range. Or maybe you made between $40,250 and $40,300, that $50 range. And you look across this row. Let me show you again. This row right here. And if you're single, see single up here? It's this is what you owe in taxes. If you're married, it's this number right here. And basically we'll focus on those two things. But you find the range of your income here. Not so much your income, I should say your taxable amount that we've subtracted down to. And then you look across the table here. And we'll get to that as well. So the tax table is provided by the IRS, right? I just showed you, it's right here. and you find your taxable amount and your filing status, married, single, and that's the number you're responsible for paying. So we call that the tax table amount. And again, that comes right off of this form. All right, so that should be it, right? That's how much you owe in taxes. Well, not yet. There's even better news. There's these really, really cool things called credits. And it's like almost like a college scholarship, if you want to think about it that way, or a gift card or free money. It's literally money you can take right off your bill, like $100 off, stuff like that. It's like a sale on your taxes. So let's define it first. An example of credits, and probably the most popular credit that people think about, is the child tax credit. You can also get educational credits for like certain college courses that you pay for. But the child tax credit, for example, is a certain amount of money, and I believe it just changed. Up until a certain amount of money you make, you get to take $2,000 off your tax bill for each child you have. So if you had 2 children, $4,000 right off your taxes. So whatever this taxable amount was, you lower it by $4,000 if you have 2 kids, $2,000 if you have 1 child. It does phase out depending on how much money you make if you're wealthier. And somebody's like, well, why not just have 15 kids? Well, believe me, kids are more expensive than the $2,000 credit. But if you happen to have children, why not take advantage of the credit? So then we subtract any credits out. So now we're getting even lower. We get a discount right off our tax bill. So now we're down to a much lower number, but we still have this amount of money we have to pay, and it's usually in the thousands for taxes. But guess what? You had money taken out of your check every paycheck the previous year. That's what you were saving up for, this moment right here. The moment has arrived. You owe money on your taxes. But guess what? You had money paid in your taxes all year, the total amount taken out of your paycheck, and that is what is on your W-2. So the W-2 form that some of you told us that you got already in the last probably couple of weeks, depending on how much money you made in the year 2020, it says how much money you made, and it also says how much money was taken out. So you have that stash of money to put toward your taxes. So right here, we're going to put taxes paid. You've already paid that. And oftentimes, and hopefully, that's enough. And it pays the whole tax bill for you, so you don't owe any more money. And what a lot of people do is they set it up so they get a little too much taken out every paycheck. And that's what you hear about when people get a tax refund. It's a refund, really. It's your money. You just overpaid them throughout the year. But that's a heck of a lot better than owing them money at the end of the year. Although not everybody agrees with that. So a refund means you paid too much in taxes and you get the amount you overpaid back. You get a check for that. So if you subtract the taxes you paid and the number falls into the negatives, you overpaid. So they send you money back. And there's been years where I got a lot of money back, and then it got less and less, and then I owed money. So then that's where you change your W-4 a little bit. But if you subtract your taxes and the number still isn't negative, if there's still a positive balance there, you will owe a little bit of money. And in that case, it means you didn't pay enough in taxes. You owe the amount you didn't pay. So you possibly might need to change your withholdings on that W-4 form. See how it all ties in? But your goal is to hopefully break even here and have enough taken out of your check all year, or even get a refund. And a lot of people, use their tax refund to pay off a credit card or go on vacation or pay for school or whatever it is. And other people say, well, I don't like to give the government a loan for the whole year, so I'll pay it at the end. But, to each their own. But so make sure you have all of this typed in, and you have a little cheat sheet here on the left, or on the right side, sorry, and all the terms on the left. And again, all this is incorporated into this form right here, the 1040 form that we're going to cover later on. So turn in your notes, and we will take it day by day and learn more and more about taxes.